through a forest. She was so scared but didn't know how to describe what was happening to her parents. Sam told his grandparents what was happening and they were very scared. "Why will you bring someone you didn't study well to become the goddess of our great mother Cuckoo? You don't know the implication of what you are playing with. This could kill all of us. We have to plead with Cuckoo to bring her back, if not, our entire family might not survive it. This is the first time a wife of this family, and the chosen one for that matter, is being so deviant. Go, find her and bring her here now." Sam became very scared. He remembered the story his uncle told him about a wife in their family running away from Cuckoo and how about 5 persons from their family died because of it, and how that his uncle was given to Cuckoo alive to appease her. Fear griped him. He swore that can never be his fate. For 1 week, Dora's night has been very scary and mysterious. She woke up every morning feeling sore and covered in dirt. What kind of problem is this? She then bought a camera and placed in her room to see what happens to her every night. What she saw left her cold in fear. She saw herself turn into a giant python and crawled out of her room. That was when she knew she was dealing with something way bigger than her. Dora, who doesn't believe in God, went on her knees to call on God for the first time in years. She was still scared of telling her parents and thought she could handle it her own way. Meanwhile, Sam has already paid some persons to kidnap Dora. She must be brought here as fast as possible. Sam's grandfather's words kept echoing in his head. Dora, who never left her parents' house since she returned home, found herself inside a thick forest around 4 a.m. in the one morning. Dressed in her pajamas and looking very dirty and muddy, Dora was so confused and broke down crying. "If only I can locate a church around, I will be safe," she told herself. She was about to enter a church she found almost 2 hours later when 2 masked men approached her and tried to grab her. She saw herself on the ground reaching for their legs and bit them. They both fell down there, foaming from their mouth. The screams from people made Dora to run into the nearby bush. "Why am I crawling on the ground and why are people screaming at me?" she thought and was confused. After crawling and running so fast, even faster than she could control, she stopped at a place trying to catch her breath. "I am on the ground again?" Dora asked, terrified. She stood up and saw herself dirtier than before. She cleaned her head and wore the back of her pajamas and walked to the church again. A crowd of people had gathered and were looking at the 2 masked men that attacked her. They were lying on the floor dead and were so swollen and big like balloon. To make things even more confusing, people were saying the men were bitten by a big snake and the snake ran into the bush. How can a snake bite make someone to look so swollen? This is not an ordinary snake. Besides, the size of such snake can never be found in this area, a man in the crowd said, sounding horrified. Dora left the crowd because everyone was looking at her dressing. She entered a bike and went home. "Does it mean I am the snake? Sam, what have you done to me?" she cried. She then decided to swallow her shame and tell her parents all that has been going on with her. "The men I sent tracked her down, but she has killed them," Sam told his grandfather. "The people around said snake bit them and they both died instantly," Sam said, sounding worried. "We have just 3 days to bring her here before things start going wrong in this family," Sam's grandfather said. Sam, out of desperation, planned with some men to go to Dora's house as robbers and bundle her to his village, but failed. "If in 3 days, Dora is not here kneeling before Cuckoo, she will turn into a full snake and I don't know how it will affect our family," Sam's grandfather called again to tell him. When Dora told her parents, they could not believe her. They felt she was mentally unwell due to her situation. She tried everything to prove to her parents that she was saying the truth and not sick mentally, but failed. "We know there is something wrong with that family, but saying they turn people to snake was absurd," her father said angrily. She would have shown them the recording where she videoed herself sleeping and turning into a snake, but she had deleted them. She was scared of leaving it in her device. She then started putting the camera again to get a video of herself and convince her parents, but nothing happened on the first 2 days. On the 3rd day, Dora turned into a full python and found herself in someone's home, the home of Sam's younger brother. Apparently, Cuckoo has gone on bloodthirsty rampage since the family was unable to secure her sacrifice. Then a call came in. Sam's only brother's children have all been bitten by a snake and they were all dead. Sam could not believe his ears. So I have destroyed my family. Never, I will not allow this Dora to bring shame to my family. He headed straight home so that they can find a solution to killing Dora. When he got home, their village home that was housing almost 50 of their relatives was empty. He panicked and ran to the next building where the altar they built for Cuckoo was. What he saw made his knees weak. He saw about 20 corpses of his relatives, littered all over the place. He managed to enter the building and saw his grandparents and a few others, taking refuge behind the huge statue of Cuckoo. Sam, you have ruined all of us. Cuckoo is on rampage in anger, his grandfather lamented. But before the end of that day, the entire family died to snake bite, including Sam. When the news of their death spread, their village was buzzing and having a feast over the end of the family that has kept the entire village in fear. It was when they were no more that everyone started hearing about the atrocities they had committed over the years. How they have always abducted a young woman every full moon to sacrifice to Cuckoo, and how they have taken over the leadership of their village and state. Every newspaper in the state carried the news, the death and end of the most notorious family. But the question everyone who knew their history asked was, where is the snake they were worshipping and who killed all of them? No one could answer the questions. Cuckoo, who has taken over Dora completely, changed back into Dora and appeared in her room, weak and almost lifeless. Her mother, who was worried about her leaving the house without her phone, suddenly found her unconscious in her room. Dora was rushed to the hospital, but nothing was seen as the cause of her unconsciousness. Her older brother, who was a pastor, disowned her years ago for denouncing God, came to visit her when he heard of her situation. When he saw her, he knelt down and wept bitterly. She is hanging in the balance and fighting to retain her soul. A very powerful spirit is trying to overcome her soul, Dora's brother told his parents. 1 week later, Dora's mother came to the hospital to clean her up. But when she raised her cloth up, she saw her skin glittering like a snake's skin. She screamed and called the doctor. Everyone gathered and were taking pictures of the most mysterious thing they have ever seen. Her family took her straight to their church. They began praying for her. Few days later, the snake scale had covered her completely, but something happened. Dora's mother held her hand and spoke to her soul. Fight, fight, you are the only one who can save yourself. After speaking those words to her, Dora started vibrating and the scales gradually started falling off. She started flogging herself on the ground like a snake, scattering the entire chairs in the church. Everyone ran outside and was peeping through the church windows. After hours of fighting, they heard a very loud hissing and felt what seemed like movement around the church as if a big snake was running and hissing. Dora got herself, but when her mother ran to hug her, she saw that her eyes were still like that of a snake. Even though her skin had returned to normal, her hands and legs were still covered with scales like a snake's skin. She got her healing and defeated Cuckoo, but not without a souvenir. She served God for the rest of her life. Sometimes when your parents advise you against marrying a particular person, please listen, especially when you are going into it for the wrong reasons.